just how much it's meant to so many other people.
For sure.
You know, which is like such a dream come true.
Right.
And, you know, as creatives, like, listen, I quit music 100 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's nothing new. People are like, oh, you're going to quit music? I'm like, shit, I quit music 100 times. My lawyers like talked me off the ledge so many times that, you know, and he's my best friend, but, you know, so it's nothing, but this was a different thing.
Right.
And I think you're so right when you talk about like what it is I think that what is trying to, you know, I understand the music chasing you. I just relate to that so much. I mean, deeply too. You know, I've tried to move away from Nashville to do anything other, you know, like anything, like pack, like I'd rather pack boxes, you know, in a packing plant, you know, trying and you know what it was? It was me hiding.
Absolutely.
It was me. Absolutely. It was me trying to hide and
escape the call.
Yeah, escape the call.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
yeah, man.
So and it's, you know, it's been, there's like people who started businesses, you know, and the businesses were doing really good before the pandemic, and all of a sudden, you know, this happened, and I got this one story from this husband and wife. They were about to close down their business. And then they heard the story that Jimmy told 5 times on national TV within the stretch of a week. And then they listened to the song and they simultaneously looked at each other and were like, we're not closing. Wow. And I'm like,
that's it.
Yeah, man, it's really.
That's a huge inspiration to so many people right across the board. I want to ask you something a little different. If you could just take us back a bit. You've released 6 albums, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to go through all of them, but can you talk us through the mindset after completing a couple of these projects at different points? Because I know right now we've talked about your recent story, but I also understand, just being in the space myself, you put yourself out there as an artist, right? You talked about the conversation that you're having through your music and you're sharing. What does that feel like on the other side of completion of an album and then having to do it again? Like, just talk us through kind of how you see it and how you've experienced the process.
Well, you know, I grew up loving everything. I mean, like, obsessed with music. I was the kid that listened to music underneath the pillow all night. My dad was a pastor. There was no secular music in the house. You know?
Man, we can relate.
Yeah, it was that whole thing. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate, right?
Yeah.
And when I first started playing music, you know, I grew up loving like old school country music, right?
Yep.
But here's what's interesting about old school country music. It is just one instrument away from old school soul.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah,
I mean, one instrument away, like one band member, included. You know, and included, and all of a sudden it's Percy Sledge. It's, you know, it's, I mean, even, oh my God, like even like a lot of like Sam Cooke, that, you know, change is going to come. I mean, it's not far from like what was going on in country music, right? So even as a young kid, I was like, I don't see much difference here. And what happened is, you know, I was making music and all of these albums, I kept just like bringing in more and more of all the music that I loved. Right. And so, you know, I started incorporating more like pop melodies, and then, you know, I started incorporating like other, you know, ideas. You know, To Be Loved was me making more of like a gospel album from my atheist friends, but it's not a gospel album. I mean, it's not a Christian record.
Right. Gotcha.
It's not that. What I mean is, like, sometimes a lot of the songs are like, they're God songs, but only using human language.
Okay.
Meaning that a lot of times when people like make like Christian music, it's an insider language. You have to decode it. Like if you didn't know the language, you'd be like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
Lamb of God, Lamb of God.
I'm on the outside here. Clearly, I don't know. And to me, I'm not down with that. Right? I think when we start using language like that, we're using it as a way to keep people out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, interesting perspective there.
And so what I started doing with leagues is I wanted to make, to me, great music and great art gets people in the same room that you wouldn't think would, should, or could. And so I wanted to start making music when I looked out playing that it was a lot more diverse looking than the music that I was writing. Because I believe, like, once again, like if you think about like music is the thing that connects all of us, then am I making music? Am I dreaming big enough? Am I thinking big enough? Am I getting outside of me in order for something really special to happen so that when it does, I can look out there and be like, oh yeah, this isn't a reflection of me. This is a reflection of us, God. There's a bunch of bigger things going on. And so when I made this album, If In Case You Feel the Same, I wanted to make a record with people that didn't look, think, and believe like me. And, like Chris Dave is the main drummer on this stuff. And Chris Dave is the only person that, funny enough, Questlove's ever hired to play on the D'Angelo records, right? But Chris is a black dude from the south side of Houston. And, like Brittany Howard from the Alabama Shakes is singing on one of the songs, Higher.
Nice.
And when you hear Chris play the drums on this track, before the chorus starts, he does this crazy drum fill. And whether he knows it or not, that's him. That's a poor kid on the south side of Houston saying, listen to me.
That's big, yeah.
Listen to me. I've got something I've got to tell you.
Right.
And that shows up in the song that I wrote, And so it's like, there's like gospel music, like on this stuff. There's like a song on the album. Next thing you know, it's a song that I had like an idea that I had in my mind if like I ever got in the same room with like Beyonce, to write. Right? If we're going to dream, let's go ahead and dream, And I remember thinking, this idea came to me. You didn't break my heart, you broke yours. And I was like, oh, that sounds like such like a Diana Ross and the Supremes like thing,
Yeah.
And I was like, if I ever, and I had saved it for like 3 years.
Wow.
Or Beyonce.
Yeah.
That's
and
incredible.
It didn't, obviously it didn't happen. So I was like, well, I'll just finish writing it. But if you listen to it, it's like an R&B song. There's like, the song next or Love Moves In. I don't write that without obsessing over Marvin Gaye's What's Going On in Sade. I can see a complete line to that stuff. But there's also songs where I'm like, that doesn't get written without my love and obsession of Bruce Springsteen.
Right. The influence.
Like heavy. Slow and Steady is me loving Bruce Springsteen and Bob Seger and Journey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have such a, broad collection of inspiration, different types of music that you draw from all the genres, different
I bet
eras.
You do too, though.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And
we all do, right?
It's powerful when it comes out as your own music. It's not their voice, it's your own voice, your own words, but the influences that kind of take you on your journey. And yeah, I love that. You mentioned
I actually had a question just
go ahead.
Before I forget, sorry. But when you were talking earlier about just, ultimately deciding that you were going to leave music and you had quit 100 times, just like I know everyone else has, what kept you going? Because I don't know what it is. I don't have an answer to why I even bothered continuing with music, but what was it that helped you or made you want to just not actually quit and stick around with music for a little bit longer, to the point where, you know, you had this incredible opportunity with Jimmy Fallon?
I know exactly how I'm surrounded by the most incredible friends. I mean,
Nice.
I have people that, you know, and here's what's really difficult is this is what like people don't want to talk about. Is like, it takes money to be able to do this.
Right.
Yeah. Please talk about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Right. This is a conversation that nobody's had.
Right.
And so people are like, hey man, I love the music that you make. And, you know, thankfully, well, not really. What I had to do is I had to humble myself and tell my friends that had means, I'd said, hey, I need help.
Right. And you're not the only musician that's probably had to do that over the course of their career.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and for me, I'm like, no, I don't ask for help. I give help, you know?
Yeah.
But that's ego.
Right. 100%.
As a podcaster, you know that great content is only half the battle. The other half is finding the right hosting platform to reach your audience. That's where Captivate comes in. With unlimited podcasts, advanced analytics, and personalized support, Captivate has everything you need to grow your audience and monetize your show. Join the thousands of successful podcasters just like us who trust Captivate for their hosting needs. Visit dnaairwaves.com/captivate today to start your free trial.